Good afternoon, Ambassador. Good afternoon, High Commissioner.
Good afternoon.
Joanne Lomas. How are you doing?
Good, thank you.
Okay. What has been the level of cooperation between the United Kingdom and Rwanda?
So, we have had a very strong partnership, particularly in development, since 1998. I saw the President yesterday for a meeting, and whenever we see him, the first thing, part of the meeting and the last part of the meeting, he acknowledges and thanks the UK for the long-term support that we've given. So that support is continuing now. But also we have an increasing number of shared priorities that we work on. So we've been working very closely on the Commonwealth and the Commonwealth Summit. It was due to be held this year, will now be next year. We're working closely on climate change. We sort of have very similar views on free and fair trade. So many areas we're working with them.
Okay. So if you could expand a little bit further, what's the current state of the bilateral relations with Rwanda?
The current state?
Yes, of the bilateral relations with Rwanda.
Very good, very good. So, as with any relations, there are things that we agree to disagree on.
Okay.
But the majority of our relationship is really, really important, and we have a strong relationship, which means we can have some difficult discussions sometimes. But we share many priorities and work with Rwanda very closely on a number of areas.
Okay, interesting. To CHOGM, how are preparations for CHOGM 2021 going from the UK's perspective?
So we just, obviously the Rwanda announced the new dates just a couple of days ago. Really pleased to have got that agreed. So both Rwanda and we and all the other Commonwealth countries will now start to ramp up our work again, having had sort of 6 months off. But when we went into lockdown in March, Rwanda was doing very well prepared. It's got excellent conferencing facilities, you'll have seen. I think perhaps most importantly, Rwanda's very keen to have real tangible policy outcomes coming out of the CHOGM. It's not a talking shop. There are real decisions and policies and funding for things like trade and climate change and girls' education and really important issues like that.
Interesting. To Brexit, as people know, Brexit is the withdrawal of the UK from the EU.
Yeah.
What's the current state of affairs with Brexit and the UK leaving the EU?
So Brexit has happened. I mean, obviously we left the EU earlier this year. This year is what we call the transition period. So whilst we're not a member of the EU, we are still bound by the various laws and rules and regulations. That will stop on the 31st of December. We are in the process of negotiating a trade agreement with the EU, and we very much hope that we will come to an agreement within the next month or so. Otherwise, we leave the transition deal with no deal, which will look at will have a different impact, but we're hoping that we will be able to reach a mutually attractive deal for all sides.
Interesting. To a follow-up question, yes, Brexit has happened.
Yes.
As in the process of happening. What does it portend for business relations between the UK and the African continent, and in this context, Rwanda?
Yeah, it's a really important question. I mean, we've been determined all along that Africa and other particularly low and middle income countries should not have their trade disrupted.
Okay.
So that has been our real priority. UK's long been a supporter of free and fair trade, and so this is really part of that much longer policy. What that means in practice is that we are working with the regional customs unions or trade regions to agree deals. In the first instance, we're looking to transition those deals that have been agreed with the EU just to avoid disruption. Long term, we're looking at perhaps even more ambitious deals, but for the moment, not having disruption is a priority. We are in discussions with the EAC on that.
Okay. On the diplomatic front, those who are keen observers of diplomacy, international relations, would wonder, why did the Foreign Office change its name to Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office? Isn't that a mouthful?
Well, we had two departments, as you know, the Department for International Development and the Foreign Commonwealth Office. And so the Prime Minister took a decision to merge the two to create a whole new office. You're right, the Foreign Commonwealth Development Office, otherwise known as FCDO, a little bit easier to say. But the intention behind it was to make sure that we took a sort of a more holistic strategic approach to our international policy, including development policy, so that they are more joined up, basically. And you can see how that would work in somewhere like Rwanda, where we're working together on important Commonwealth issues or the recovery from COVID, where it's very important our political and our development policies merge together. What I can say, if that's okay, I'll just add, is that it does not change our approach to development policy, in the sense that we still retain our commitment to 0.7% of GNI as development assistance, and that's not changed.
So, in a nutshell, someone could use an analogy by saying, still the same engine, just a different body.
Yes, and I'd say perhaps a more joined up policy.
Okay. To COP26, what are the current preparations for COP26, and is there a likelihood it might be a virtual event? So,
we could have held a virtual event in November this year, but we took the decision that we wanted to. There are two reasons for the postponement for a year. It's partly about wanting to host something physically, but also about wanting this to be an ambitious summit. And there was a real risk that the world's attention is taken up by COVID-19, understandably, and we want countries to come with real ambition. So we decided that the policy side as well, it would be better if we delayed to give countries the opportunity, for example, to publish their nationally determined contributions so that they can really help drive the fight against climate change. And we've seen, Rwanda's really setting a good example. They published their NDC in the middle of lockdown. Very ambitious, and I think they're really showing other countries what can be done.
Interesting. You've been here for a while. What has been your experience of the country in general?
So Rwanda is very impressive, and when I think when anybody comes here and you look at what they have achieved in the last 26 and a half years now, there's a huge amount for us to learn. I'm constantly impressed both by the progress that's been made, but also by the openness of Rwanda to new things, to innovation, to technology, to different ways of doing things. If there's an international expert who can bring something to Rwanda, they're invited with open arms. So I think that's really helped Rwanda maintain that momentum, basically. So I really enjoyed it, and I've also enjoyed travelling around the country. And so great conservation efforts as well. When you go to Akagera and you see the gorillas, again, a fantastic story about how a disaster of that of national park has been transformed, and you now have very high-end tourists coming in to see Rwanda. It's really on the top of the list now. So I really have to commend a lot of what they've done.
Interesting. Final question: what's the title of the book you're currently reading?
I can tell you the one I've just read.
Okay.
That's a new one. It's The Tenements. It is The Tenements by Margaret Atwood.
Okay.
It's the follow-up to Handmaid's Tale.
Okay. Thank you very much, Commissioner, for your time.
You're very welcome.